Hey, welcome, y'all. Welcome to Mondays in the Meditation Room with Dr. K for Midlife Musings. It is Monday, y'all. Can y'all believe this is the third Monday in March already? Next Monday is the fourth Monday, but we got a bonus Monday, which is Resurrection Sunday on March 31st. I'm sorry, March 31st, Sunday is already here, almost 2 weeks away. We're at the end of March already, and I can't believe this is third Monday. Man, time is flying. How y'all doing? Welcome back to Mondays in the Meditation Room with Dr. K for Midlife Musings, where we are redefining midlife. We are choosing to thrive. We are reimagining and reinventing ourselves and our lives as we come into the best of who we absolutely positively can be in midlife and beyond. How y'all doing? I feel like I haven't been in the room in a minute, but it was just last week, right? Oh man, actually, we did a replay last week because we were on travel, and I hope you watched it. I hope you watched it again, even if you saw it live the first time. I hope you watched it again as we are celebrating Women's History Month, and our theme has been honoring the power of your womanhood. How have you been doing that? How have you been honoring and celebrating womanhood? I hope you've been doing that. I hope you've been reflecting on your life and realizing how amazing and awesome you are, and I'm grateful. We had our sisterhood day yesterday at church, and it was absolutely amazing. And one of the prayers that our minister Decky prayed, she said, God, I thank you for making me a woman. You might as well. Right. I almost said you can't change it. Well, some some people work on changing it. They think they can. They do. They do what they feel like they're laying called to do. So I can't say you can't change it. I'm just saying at this point, it is great for us to honor and celebrate our womanhood. Amen. So, hey, who is that Facebook user? I love you. Who's checking in from Charlotte, North Carolina? Come on in. Welcome. Hey, Sister Lisa. Hey, Sister Crystal. Welcome. I'm so glad you guys are joining us. It is a great day. Any day that we have to walk in our authenticity and power is a great day. So, welcome again as you're coming on, as you are joining, whether live or watching the replay. Welcome to the Meditation Room, sponsored by the Enlightened Woman, where we are all things enlightenment and empowerment for Black women in midlife and beyond. So, welcome. Hey, Lynette, welcome. We are so glad to have you. Y'all, how you feeling? How you doing? How you sleeping? How you managing yourself in this midlife season in the pause? How's your mind? How's your brain? Are you experiencing brain fog? Are you dealing with them hot flashes and night sweats and um, or what do you want to call those mood swings? All of that good stuff that seems to happen for us when we are in the pause is what I like to call it. How y'all doing? How y'all managing those symptoms? How you taking care of yourself? How are you sleeping and resting and reducing your stress and drinking water and eating a lot less processed foods? How are you doing? Somebody said dealing with all of the above, on 1,000. Man, it is no joke. And y'all know if you've been in the meditation room with me for any length of time, you know for Black women, it is particularly and especially precarious during this season, considering we enter into perimenopause, which is that season leading up to menopause that usually hits anywhere from 40 um, on up to 50, and it can absolutely even be longer because I'm dealing with it right now. And some women, it even starts earlier at 35. So for Black women, it can start earlier and last longer and can be even a little bit more challenging. There really is no reason or rhyme why that happens. And part of the issue is we are not always included in the research, and women in general aren't included in medical research on things that pertain to us specifically as women. But there's a bill out to Congress and in Congress to change that, to put more money towards research for women's health, and in particular women in menopause. Can I tell you, by 2025, there's going to be over 1 billion women in some point of that continuum of perimenopause or postmenopause, because you know menopause is literally just one day. It's that 366th day after you have not had a cycle, that's menopause, and then after that, that day you postmenopause, right? So we are learning, we are taking the time to normalize the conversation, destigmatize our reproductive health, and decolonize our well-being, all of the above. Right. And I love it. Thank you so much, Facebook user, for saying that. She says she's been dealing with her since she was 25, is now 56, and had to have two more of her pituitary to remove to pituitary gland. So her system is all over the place and had to bring surgery at night. I can't read the rest of it. I can't see it or quite get the gist of it. Oh, right. So I'm taking, oh, got it. And so didn't remove all of it. So she's taking medication now. And thank you for saying that, because that is on our list for content coming up, to really deal with women in perimenopause and menopause, where it's not occurring naturally, but it could have happened because of illness. It could have happened because of chemo. It could have happened rapidly because of surgery. There are other medically induced ways to come into perimenopause and menopause, and we need to talk about that too. And so we're going to bring some doctors in the house to kind of talk about that. Hey, Lynette. Okay, thank you. So right there. So been dealing with some 25 at 56 now, and had two of our pituitary glands. So my system is all over the place. Had to have surgery in 92, and he did remove all of it. Okay, so I'm reading it now. I'm reading it a little slower. I got it. So I got that. Yes, there are all kind of ways that can happen that can cause our hormones to be out of whack, that cause us to begin to step into perimenopause or be menopausal, or have those really perimenopause or postmenopause, have those symptoms. And we deal with it. I believe I've been dealing with mine for well over 10 years. And the scary thing about that is that for the first several years, I would say even almost 5 or more, I didn't realize that's what was going on, right? So we're going to continue to talk about that while we are in the room, because that's what this space is for. All things enlightenment, empowerment for Black women in midlife, dealing with all the things that come along with that amazing transition and rite of passage, which is what it is. And it's a holistic rite of passage. Your spirit, mind, soul, body, all of it is affected. Not just one part of us, but we're all of us go through going through. You take your whole body, all of it goes through menopause or perimenopause and is affected. So we're here so that you don't think you're alone, so that you don't feel like you can have that conversation. This is a free space where we can talk about it freely, where we're going to be empowered and educated. Knowledge of our bodies will make all the difference in the world. Things that we can do both naturally, organically, and then for some person, they may have to do hormone replacement therapy. There are different ways to mitigate some of the stress and pressures that happen to us in our spirit, soul, mind, and body while we are navigating this season in our lives. So if y'all talk back to me on the chat, whether you're watching on the Enlightened Woman Facebook page or Enlightened Woman private Facebook group or on YouTube, go ahead and leave some comments, because we teach each other, we encourage each other, and maybe you have some questions that we didn't think about that we can add to our content repertoire as we go through the rest of the year. Hey, right, Lisa said that whole weight gain piece, oh my goodness, y'all, that, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. And I'm excited that next week I'll be talking to a holistic integrative physician and doctor that focuses on nutrition, and she's going to help us talk about things that we can eat and or not eat to kind of help us through this process as well. Woo, yes. Oh, and I'm loving it because these are also symptoms that we don't talk about or realize that it is part of this perimenopausal menopausal journey. Like this, like she said, migraines, headaches, right? That the excess weight gain, yep, sinus problem, kidney, woo, and all of those mood swings, yes, breathing, all of that, man, all of that can be a part of it, but you have some special and particular health things that are going on that can exacerbate it, right, and be a part of it because we don't acknowledge or are taught about our hormones and how much they affect our body. So when we're in that perimenopausal stage, when our estrogen begins to decline and progesterone and testosterone begins to decline, our whole body responds to it because nobody ever told me how important estrogen was and that it is a part of just about every system in our bodies. And when it begins to decline, our body begins to respond to it. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm excited. Soon I'll be launching my coaching sessions for that after getting that certification as a menopause coach specialist. Yes, there's so much we don't know. At least I should say so much I didn't know, but that now I know and I'm still learning. Speaking of September 20th, 21st, you don't want to miss the Serenity Experience. I'm looking for my flyer. Let me look for my flyer, y'all, so y'all can see it. Um, it's the save the date, right? It's Friday and Saturday, September 20th and 21st. We're talking about grown woman things is the theme this year for the Serenity Experience for Women in Midlife. I'm so excited. Oh man, Dr. Marcia Levi is going to be back with us. And who started it off with us? I call her our Doctor in Residence, Dr. Sharon Adi is going to be back with us. And then I'm excited to introduce somebody new, may not be new to everybody, but new to the Serenity Experience Sisterhood. Sister LaShawn Holland is going to be on talking to us about our money and wealth, y'all. Woo. More details are coming, but save the date, or actually, its registration is open right now, so you can go to enlightenedwoman.global/register and register. Just go to enlightenedwoman.global and click on the Serenity Experience and register. You do not want to miss it. If anybody is on the line, go ahead, put it in the chat, in the comments. Encourage your sisters to come on out because it is going to be amazing. We are going to be at the Pearl Modern Spa and Boutique in Columbia, Maryland. We're going back there. That's where we were before, and it was amazing. It gives you the opportunity to turn it into a full spa day, literally, um, and weekend if you want. You can call the Pearl Modern Spa and Boutique. Go ahead and make some reservations for some spa services or movement classes from 9 to about 1. We're going to get started at 1:30. Oh man, and then our hotel is the Meriwether Lake House in Columbia, stone's throw from the Pearl. Make it an overnight stay because our registration includes everything this year. You get that Friday night. Y'all know that Friday night was on fire. And then Saturday, lunch and our serenity sessions and just some more stuff and being in the company and encouraging each other. It is amazing. So go ahead, register. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, so we're in Women's History Month and we're talking about honoring the power of your womanhood. And on tonight, I'm so excited because we are talking and chatting tonight under the theme In Search of Our Mother's Garden. Right, the really talking about, and I got that title from a book by Alice Walker, and it is a book of essays that she wrote um, on her ideas on under various topics dealing with women. And then she also shares some little known women writers. She also shares their work in it. But it's about connecting Black women through the generations, about how we have thrived, how we've gone through, how we are persevering, how we persevere, and how we make it, and how our voice is important, right? And so we're talking about In Search of Our Mother's Garden, exploring generations of Black womanhood. And so tonight I have my daughters, and if you saw the Facebook post, I love it. It's a baby boomer and millennial conversation. They were born, my oldest was born in 86, and my middle child, second daughter was born in 88. So they are both millennials. They're in that same window. And so we're going to have a conversation because, you know, it's real important to me, at least, that we have multi generational conversations. That is one of the things that a lot of women said to me when we started talking about midlife and menopause and all that, that nobody had a conversation with them. Nobody said anything to them about it. And I was like, I don't think I really had a conversation with my daughters about that either, except for the latter portion. They, you know, they would see me fanning and knowing that I was having a hot flash, right? As a part of what was happening in that season. They got to learn a lot more coming to the Serenity Experience last year, I believe, for the first time. And so I wanted to have a conversation, not just with me, but with another generation about womanhood, how we are defining it, how it's impacted, what we're learning, and how we are navigating life in 2024. So y'all help me welcome. I'm going to pull them up to the stage. My oldest, we call her number one because she was number one. So we literally nicknamed her number one, but her full government name is Shante Venice. She has my middle
Yeah,
name.
you know.
She has my middle name, right? And then my other daughter, Shannon Kelly, right? So she has a somewhat part of my name, right? We literally met somebody named Colleen, and we were like, "Hey, we like that name," so we used that name, and I'm so glad. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hey.
So we are giving disclaimers already early in this conversation. Shantae's fussing at her computer, her laptop. She's mad because the camera won't act right. But it's all right, boo. We got you. We got you. We can see your beautiful face. They're gonna be with me this Monday and next Monday. So for those of you who don't know, if you're not following me, or subscribe to my YouTube channel or following me on Facebook or Instagram, I need you to do that because on fourth Mondays is fourth Mondays in the meditation room with the Hazes. My husband joins me and we talk about midlife marriage, relationships, and all that good stuff. Y'all got to go back and watch some of the replays. That's some good stuff, y'all. So we're going to merge. We're going to bring the hubby on fourth Mondays again as we normally do, but we're gonna have his daughters on. So that's gonna be a good conversation, daddy and daughters talking about life and midlife and all that good stuff. And I'm kind of nervous to have them on there with their dad. Lord Jesus, it's gonna be awesome though. We're gonna have a great conversation. So tonight we're talking about as we talk about honor the power of your womanhood during Women's History Month. Hey, Aunt Viv, talking
Hi,
about
Viv.
the power of your womanhood, honor the power of your womanhood, and we're talking about um, that whole crazy kind of conversation about womanhood and what womanhood is, what it was, and what it is now, what it's like, how you define it, and what impacts you. How has have the women in your life, in the generation that raised you and the generation that raised the ones that raised you, um, what impact do they have on your definition or what you feel is expected of women, or what women can do and be, and the definition of womanhood. So you know the definition of womanhood is very simple and straightforward. When you look at Merriam-Webster, it literally is just the state of being a woman. I was like, that was so obvious. What kind of definition of that? Womanhood is just the state of being woman, or it says the distinguishing characteristics or qualities of being a woman. But we know now, this time and age, is that there's so many definitions definitions of womanhood, and it can be impacted by your family of origin, your culture, your experiences, and what you might think is pretty straightforward for what a woman is and how a woman shows up. Somebody else can have a completely different definition. And so we're going to talk about that on tonight. Let me scroll through real quick. Yay. Oh, no, that's Lisa saying she got her room for the Serenity Experience. I love it. Go ahead, get your room because they are limited. We don't have a whole lot. We don't have a huge room block. So make sure you get your room. All right. So let's talk about this. When y'all heard the title, and just pray for my daughters because I'm just throwing them in. We didn't have a rehearsal. We didn't even talk about it. I kind of gave them the topic and said, just roll with it. But if the truth be told, that's how it is most times on Mondays in the meditation room. So, first of all, what are you thinking about when you think about the title, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens? Not the documentary I think y'all were talking about earlier, but it's not about the book per se. I just love that title because it's trying to connect the generations of what it means to be a woman. So when you think about that and you think about womanhood, what do you think about, or what comes to your mind?
Um, were you about to say something?
Go ahead.
She
Oh
said,
wait.
okay, okay. No, I was just gonna say, as you mentioned, um, the connection between generations, um, in search of our mother's gardens. I feel like it's one generation pulling from the ones that came before them
Mhm,
to, not necessarily, it can shape your identity as a woman, but give you also wisdom and insight to how to journey through life.
mhm,
And from viewing the experiences, if you are able to, because I know sometimes within families there's not much of a discussion when there may be hardships. You may like experience it, but there might not be an actual like discussion of how the mother or the grandmother experience something. And sometimes then the latter generations experience it as well, but because nothing was passed down, wisdom
mhm,
or impartation, they um, may fall into the same and don't know how to power through. So I definitely know that, at least for myself, the women in my life have shaped my view of womanhood.
mhm,
Um, Knowing how to stand in your feminine power,
mhm,
but also I've also been able to see a balance of strength and vulnerability.
mhm,
I will say first strength, and then I think as we like my sister and I transitioned into adulthood, I think that we were able to also now not just see you as mom and not just see Grandma Marie and Grandma Pearl as Grandma Pearl. Like I'm able to also now view them as women. And as
mhm,
I went through my own experiences, um, I had an understanding of um, us being human and women first before we take on the role of wife and mother and whatever else
mhm.
we identify as. So,
That was good. Good. See, it makes me look like I really, really worked with y'all. Nope.
Yes, you did.
That's their own. That's their own wisdom. Shante, how about you?
Well, Shannon took everything I was gonna say, so I'm joking. But so I'm a visual person, and when I think of garden, I think of flower.
Mm-hmm.
So when it says exploring generations of Black womanhood, I feel as though the earlier generations or the older generations, I feel like they are the roots.
Mm,
The millennials and maybe Generation Z or X. I don't know who comes after the millennial. I'm not sure. So I feel like we. So the roots will be the boomers and I guess the silent generation.
mm-hmm.
The millennials will be was that the STEM.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then Generation Z, X, Y, whatever would be
Elemental P.
Right,
And
right. They would
they're
be.
down to they're down to alpha. I think
Oh goodness.
tequila
Damn. I have
and
to look to see what Teal and Daria are. I'm
Yes,
not
I think
sure.
they're
Generation Alpha and Omega. I guess I don't know.
alpha.
I don't know.
They're
They would.
alpha.
They
They're
would be.
alpha.
I was.
We just talked
I,
about that last week. I mean, for the last two Wednesdays when we did the sisterhood real talk Bible study takeover. We had a multi generational panel,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think the youngest ones born through 2025, like 2012 and 2025 or something like that. They're called alpha. But yeah, I like
Oh.
that
yeah.
imagery.
So
Keep going. Keep
they would
going.
be the petals. They would
Mm,
be the petals.
I
So
love.
Blooming.
yes. So if of course you need water and dirt. Sorry, the teacher in me is coming out. So you need the water, the sun to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have any of those things, quote unquote, you die. So like Shannon said, I feel like if we didn't have an example of a woman or women in our lives to help us, we wouldn't be able to nurture and develop and grow into the beautiful flower that we can be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I also agree, as we were transitioning to adulthood, like Shannon said, I feel like seeing you not so as my mom, but I can also see you as a friend as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, of course, growing up when I was little, sometimes I feel like I remember one time watching you put on your makeup or something, and I was just in awe. I was like, wow, maybe hopefully one day I'll be able to, make myself more beautiful like my mom. But of course, I grew into my own womanhood and realized that I don't always have to necessarily have accessories or anything to make myself beautiful. I can make my own self beautiful. So I agree with Shannon. If we didn't have any of those things, or if we didn't have any women in our lives that helped us transition into adulthood, it would be kind of difficult to not know how to navigate through life as a Black woman in particular. And I do appreciate the strength that we did have or do have in our family,
Mm-hmm.
and also to show our weaker side as well. So, yes.
I love it. I'm doing this right now because when your dad comes on next week, he's gonna be trying to take credit for all of that we say. Oh
He
my
always does. He always
God, my daughters are beautiful and brilliant. They get that from me. Amen. Well, I get to. I'm on first, so I get to say that first. So he can't
You can watch the replay. Yes.
claim. That is so good. I love that imagery about the blooming flower and the roots and the stem and the blossoms, the petal, because we're connected. I like that because it creates the connectivity between the generations, but we're all part of that same um, the same the same. I almost said the same tree, but we're all part of that same. Um, place of growth and way of being because the roots are not just the roots by themselves and the stem is not just the stem by itself and the leaves and the petals and all of that's just that can't exist by themselves and so that is such a great connectivity image of flower of our generations and womanhood has meant a whole lot of different things through the generations. What women are doing now, it was probably completely unheard of generations ago. And I'm back a long, long time ago. Most women were considered to just be that, a wife and a homemaker, to be at home, to keep the home, to raise the children, and that's it and it was like mutiny on the bounty when women start wanting to exercise their gifts and work outside of the home or to do both. Some was by choice, some was necessity, um, and even now sometimes the woman is the breadwinner, right? That there are men who stay at home with the kids now, or the woman or the wife makes more money than the spouse. There's all these different kind of roles and ideas about what a woman is. And then we have um, the added pressure of being Black women in America, because that's a whole nother side of who we are where the world can see us differently because we're black, or place um, a kind of statistics or a description of us because we're black. We got to deal with the angry black woman, right? The over sexualized woman, or what they would say as a caricature, as a mammy, that she's asexual and she's just nurturing and fixing it and taking care of everybody, or the strong black woman. All of those things come into play when it comes to us and having to find our way um, on our own can be daunting, which is why having multi generations in your life that can pour into you or talk to you or teach you, and sometimes saying nothing but that you can watch, can be helpful. What do you think one of the things that, as you were growing up and as you are experiencing life now, one of the most important things that you think you've learned, not by somebody saying it to you, but by osmosis? Because you guys have been exposed to me, your grandmother, great grandmothers. Wait, yeah, great grandmothers for a season, and you have aunts and great aunts, and you have like aunts that you call that are not aunts by blood, um, cousins, on both sides of the family. You guys are blessed. I'm just thinking about that, how blessed you are to have those multi generations. You have sister cousins. You all got all of that. What are some of the things that you think you picked up about womanhood or learned, whether it was directly taught to you or just by osmosis and watching?
Go ahead.
Okay. I guess I'll
No,
go
go.
first this time. Okay.
Yes.
So I didn't. I remember. Well, I'll give some credit to Daddy. So I know one time, I think we were getting ready for church, and he was like, "I'm so glad y'all smell good." so, so I think that one thing about being a woman is that in a way, I feel like we have to, I don't know, smell a certain way. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I know being a woman, we have to, I guess, present ourselves and smell or look a certain way that's feminine, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. Um, but I've learned or I've seen that feminine doesn't have to necessarily have to mean high heels all the time. Like
Hmm.
you can be comfortable. Like I know for me personally, I love heels, but I don't like them all the time. So I feel like I'm feminine, or I can be still be a woman, present myself as a woman if I'm wearing sweats. Um,
Hmm.
so I've seen, you aunties, Grandma Reed, Grandma Pearl, all the women are in our lives who have carried a sense of femininity in themselves by not necessarily being feminine all the time, if that makes sense. So they
A
can.
stereotype of what that means.
So I would say like, um, I remember you all saying in Aunt Dee Dee's homegoing service that she always carried a purse. So, so that's what I think of, like, showing your side of being feminine, like you carry or you look a certain way that looks feminine, or present yourself as a woman, if that makes, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but um so carrying the purse, wearing heels. I feel like I remember growing up when I was younger seeing you, mommy. Um, I don't think I've ever seen you like dressed down per se, but I've seen, like, as you gotten older, I have seen you become more relaxed. But of course,
Mhm.
you still carry some feminine, femininity about yourself. Is that like you're not like, oh my gosh, what is she wearing? But like you still present yourself as a woman. You still present yourself as a woman.
Yes.
If that makes
She
sense.
wears athleisure wear.
You dress like she yes. Since she's athleisure wear now. But like I remember, I don't think I've ever like I've
She wore jeans. She chose
she wore
jeans
jeans,
sometimes.
but I remember growing up when I was younger. I don't think I really remember
Mm-hmm.
seeing you wear athleisure wear as much as you are wearing it now.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
I
And
think
also,
also growing up it was because we were in the throes of being PKs, so our our
yes, I
lives
was so
were
used to
very
seeing your
were
robe, your
very
heels.
different.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you know what?
Yes.
That's true, and that's the kind of things that you have to talk about because it's experiential in terms of culture, what our life was like culturally. So
Mhm.
we can't dismiss that though. So that's a good thing y'all brought that up. We can't dismiss that because we were a church going family, and
Mhm.
so we dressed a certain way going to church, or and even in casual, we could, we still had to be presentable and present ourselves a certain way. So that was part of it, and I didn't even think about that, how your spirituality and your religious enculturation affects what it means to be a woman. Because at one point in the church, it depends on where you were. You were considered a holy woman if you weren't wearing makeup or lipstick or anything like that. You couldn't do none of that, and you couldn't wear pants. Lord, you certainly wasn't a woman if you was walking around in pants. So all of that experience
Close the door.
plays
Not
into
yet.
what we've been
Not
told
yet. Close the
we
door.
are as women and
Close the
what
door. I
we're
say
to be
close the door.
as
I say
women.
close the
All
door.
of that, all of that.
No, I say
So
close the
like
door.
Shante, when you're talking about your dad, he was like, I'm just glad y'all got good hygiene practices.
Yes.
Yeah, because for him,
Yes.
in his mind, that's part of being a woman is to have good hygiene,
Smell.
right?
Yes.
And I
And
think
smell
that's
good.
true across the board, whether you're a man or a woman. But I think women are held to a higher standard in terms of what good hygiene is and what that means.
Mhm.
What my grandbabies doing? Are they?
You see, I'm in my closet, right?
Yes. I was laughing. I was like, Shannon had to hide.
um, I was also going to say how something I viewed and experienced was also how all the women in our family rallied together,
Mm,
whether it's just for a good kiki or but when there were challenging times being faced, how the women in our families rallied together. And mom, um, it was always encouraging seeing you show up for your friends and how your friends would show up for you.
mm,
And so that definitely set an example for me as far as like friendships and
mm,
sisterhood. And so thankfully, Shante and I didn't really didn't really have too many quarrels or whatever, but it was great having that foundation.
mm,
And especially um with seeing some I will say now looking back, I think I noticed it then growing up, but I could see the weight and the pressure of ministry
mm,
on you as an executive pastor and a woman in ministry. But it was always great to see that you have the support and definitely yes to you
mm,
always made sure we took care of ourselves
mm,
Mhm.
and that we knew how to take care of ourselves.
mm,
Something I'm trying to impart on your grandgirls
mm.
um, now.
Yeah.
So
That is so true. Sometimes you forget until you have those kind of conversations that culturally. So for those of you who are watching live in the comments, um, how has the women in your life impacted your idea of womanhood? What you thought womanhood was, and do you think differently now than what you were taught or shown? What you thought. That I have now for our generations between the me and you, the generation before that, your grandmother had siblings. I mean, she had sisters rather. She had four sisters and a brother. Wait, plus her. So that was six, right? So she had four sisters and a brother. And then I was the only child of my mom, so I didn't have any siblings, but I had cousins. I didn't have any siblings, but then I had multiple children. So it was also a learning experience for me, the sibling dynamic. And it was great to see the dynamic between you, Shante and Shannon, because it was like you came out, both of y'all, when y'all came out of the womb and knew each other as sisters, y'all were always sisters and friends. And that was wonderful to see. Me and Dad didn't really have to do a lot of mediating and pulling y'all apart kind of stuff. When I think back over it now, that was kind of miraculous and amazing.
which is I told Shante, I think, well, I can't remember if I told her, but um, your grandgirls fuss a lot. And so this is new for me because I was like, that was me and Josh, but it
Mm,
certainly wasn't me and Shante. So I'm trying to figure out
Hmm.
how to navigate, sisters. It could be, it's, I think their age difference. And I think it's, also they're in a blended family, something they're experiencing something I never did. So
mhm,
there's a lot of different dynamics that I have to consider um,
mhm,
when um, navigating motherhood. I think in a different way of my experience as a sibling. They're experiencing being siblings in a different way than I did.
That's so, that's the thing that we also have to talk about as women is acknowledging the context of each woman and then the generations of women. Because we have a tendency to say, I didn't do that. I didn't have to go through that. Or I went through that. So they should be able to handle that. They should be able to do it this way. We impose our sense of strength and womanhood on different generations based on our own experience, and we have to take a moment and breathe and look at the different contexts and culture in which you guys are being raised in. You were raised in a different generation than we were. We had to be mindful of that, and I have to remind myself of that. And Daria and Tahila are being raised differently. They're being raised differently in terms of uh, technology and all kind of stuff is completely different, and what they're being exposed to, they are being exposed at a much younger age than you were and than I was, about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a girl, what it looks like, what relationships look like. They have more exposure to things that we didn't. And I
Age,
think
I'm also trying to navigate teaching them what's age appropriate content
mm,
because they have so much access to
mm,
that, and because they have access to older bonus siblings and social media,
mhm,
not trying to protect their innocence because they do see being a teen as cool.
mhm,
So, trying to kind of make them, not make them, but help them appreciate the ages that they are now,
mm,
without them trying to aspire to be or appear older than what they are because of what they see.
mhm. How much we get ready to? This is so good. We may have to pick it up again next month, with some more guests to talk about how we continue to honor the power of our womanhood and what that means, what impact the women around us have had on our womanhood, what influences have shaped us and framed our thinking. What, as we prepare to close, um, I'm reading some of the comments. Sonia says, "Big Mama," which is my grandmother, who I always saw with a compact that she would open with this little red sponge, and she was always, patting her face and combing her hair. She had a drawer full of jewelry that I would go through, and she would go through and put her jewelry on, and she had her purse and her dress and her shoes, and um, she wasn't doing pants until later in her life. But she only wore them around the house. She never wore them out. And she, from my experience, was home cooking dinner. Dinner was on the table, and it was a whole different experience, and mine was different. I worked outside of the home, and it was a lot different. We went through a lot of different seasons. um, Sonia said Big Ma always told us to be ladies and we could never go outside with rollers in our hair or bonnets on our head. It was about integrity and representation. So we're talking about all of that, that whole
Mhm.
argument about what that means for young girls to be out in public with bonnets and pajama bottoms and house shoes and all of that, because there's a a argument about what it means to present yourself, to be presentable as a woman. That's a whole nother conversation. Woo! So if, as we close for tonight, I sense that we're gonna have to talk about it some more and have some more guests on to talk about it in this Women's History Month. Name, can you think of a woman that stands out for you in this day and time that is a an amazing representation of womanhood? Is we're in Women's History Month.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I would say for standing in their own uniqueness and power right now, Tabitha Brown and Fantasia.
Say Tabitha Brown and Fantasia. That's good. But
Mhm.
tell us a couple of things about Tabitha Brown. What if you could think about that? We'll come back to you, Shante. Does anybody, any sister, jump in your head for doing this Women's History Month that might be standing out to you?
Taraji P Henson.
Mm,
And she was talking about how she wasn't getting paid what her worth.
mm-hmm,
So I think she's definitely stood up for herself,
mm-hmm,
and she's still not silent about it. So she's
Mhm.
still fighting about it. So I definitely say she was the first person that came to my mind, Taraji P Henson.
awesome. That was good because that was major. That
Mhm.
was major. So, Shannon, we're coming back to you. What about Tabitha or Fantasia that you thought was worth talking about as a woman?
For Tabitha, I admire how she comes and brings her full self
Mm-hmm.
to whatever platform she either creates for herself or she's invited to. She brings her whole self. And from what I've gathered from like what she has shared in interviews and articles of that, it took her time to get there to feel comfortable there, but now she's fully there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it and it shines through her. Fantasia, I've been following her since American Idol. And I love her. I love her story of overcoming, and I just she's never shied away from the challenges she's faced and experienced, and I'm just enjoying seeing this triumphant season she's in right now.
Oh, that is so good. My daughters were so great. I enjoyed it. Then you enjoy them. Tell my girls congratulations. It's their first time on Mondays in the meditation room with Dr. K. Midlife Musing. Thank you. I'm so excited. They're gonna be back with their dad and having conversations. Woo! With their dad as we close out Women's History Month. Woo, that's going to be good. Thank y'all for joining us. Watch it on the replay. Pull your daughters in, pull your sisters in, your nieces, your cousins, your blood and non blood, but spiritual daughters in. Start having this conversation with them, especially a multi generational conversation, and share your stories. Now, don't let them just kind of guess and see. Go ahead and share those stories or allow them to ask those questions and answer them so that they can grow, so we can stay connected through the generations and encourage strong, beautiful, both vulnerable, gifted, go ahead and live your life women. That's what we want. Thank y'all so much for joining us for Mondays in the meditation room as we are in search of our mother's gardens and we are exploring what it means to be a woman in this day and age. Let's live our life and rediscover the joy of being you in midlife and beyond and all generations. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Shante and Shannon, don't hang up. Just wave by. Say hey. Love y'all.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.